Hey, and welcome to map 27 of TNT Evilution. This is Mount Pain, and my goodness, is this not a big boy level. So initially we're going to get rid of all the shotgunners and chain gunners in this room. We want to try and create a little safe space for us to kind of wander around in. So just going to make sure we get rid of all the enemies we can see. As you can see, there's a few enemies sort of ducking around here. We need to make sure that we don't kind of, lose too much health to them. Gonna go into the fake wall here, kill the chain gunner. There's a bunch of chain gunners down here as well. You can see that the aesthetic of this level is quite interesting. Not quite sure what to make of what we're seeing around us here. Is this an old warehouse? Is this like a city building? Do let me know what you think in the comments. But as we make it to the end here, a bunch of enemies are going to start teleporting in behind us, and we're going to have to deal with these guys. So Mount Pain is big, and when I say big, I mean this one goes quite long, which is probably why there isn't a PS1 version of this level, let's be totally honest. So as we make our way in here, we drop down here, and there's some Arachnotrons in cages. Now we just got to be careful because we don't want to lose too much health in this room. Health is a bit of a premium on this level, so I would prefer not to kind of waste it if we can avoid it. We'll be getting rid of you, getting rid of the imps around the corner there. Get rid of you. So now that this room's a bit more clear, we can grab the armor and the goodies that are inside the cages. There is some ammo and some armor, which is very nice. There's some health there as well. Not going to say no to that. So we're going to go over to the other side here, just because I want to kind of clear out all this space. As you can see, there's a lot of enemies, and the thing is, because this level's so big, the enemies have a lot of space to wander into, so they can kind of follow you in unexpected ways if you're not totally careful. Going to get rid of you guys. And there's also a habit on this level of enemies just kind of sneaking up behind you. Gonna get rid of the imps up top there, just because I don't want them shooting at me and chipping away too much of my health as we're kind of making our way past here. So you can see here what I was talking about earlier. There's just a habit on this level of enemies just kind of casually walking up behind you, and they'll chip away at your health, and it just makes some of these situations a bit more annoying than they would otherwise be. We want to get rid of the shotgunners in the center parts there, and they will cause a lot of damage, so best to get that sorted early. So my opinions on this level vary quite wildly depending on the kind of mood I'm in. So this level isn't bad in my opinion. It kind of outstays its welcome, but at the same time it does try to keep things interesting, so you can't say this level doesn't try a lot of things. I think when we're kind of going through this level, you should probably observe the fact that a lot of these rooms are just huge, and a lot of them kind of feel a bit samey in this part here in particular. It can feel a bit like you're kind of wandering through very similar rooms, and they lack sort of landmarks occasionally, which is not good. There's a secret here which we're going to grab. So what I mean by that is that we're kind of just walking around here. We're kind of looking around, and everything just kind of looks the same. And I think that's a bit of a problem. They could have made each half of this feel a bit more unique in my opinion. I'm also not a fan of the fact that these doors don't have indicators for what keys you need on them. So you kind of walk up to them and you're told you need a red key, and then you have to turn around and kind of go hunting through this level. So we're going to come into what I think is the weakest part of this level, and it's a sewer section. Now, to be clear, I don't think that this is the worst sewer section in TNT. Hello Habitat. But I do think that this one makes a strong case for why sewer levels don't work in Doom. So we're going to dive down here. Take care of you. So the Berserk Pack isn't really going to be useful for us, but it's nice to grab it anyway. We have to head around here. We're going to hit this, and then we're going to head inside here, and this should raise up, and it does. And it's going to drop us in the middle of a massive sewer section, and this looks like it's going to crush us. It doesn't, but we do have to head inside here. So one thing that really annoys me here is that there's a very limited rad suits in this area. So if you kind of want to take your time, explore all of this, you're going to have a bad time. But there is a lot of weapons and ammo in here, so there is things to find in here. But look at what we're doing here. We're running through these very narrow, kind of brownish wooden with toxic sludge floors. These cobwebs kind of blocking the way. And is this fun? Is this what you want from your Doom experience? Because it's not what I want from my Doom experience. Here's the second secret of this level. And yeah, for me, like, this bit falls really flat because it is literally just rectangle rooms, kind of long rectangle rooms with enemies and the darkness, and you can see we have a fair bit to go before we get to the end anyway. This is just, I don't know. It just feels like this could have been edited way, way, way down, or done better, or just not done at all, whichever option you feel is most appropriate. Luckily, we've reached the end here, but this is something that really aggravated me as well when I was a kid. So it's not clear here that this is a door, even though it's got like that weird disaster area texture on it. It's not entirely clear that it's a door, and if you're going to make the player click through there, why not just make it a door texture? I don't understand why you have to kind of make it a disaster area texture, because that doesn't indicate a door. But as you can see, we've come into this unique looking room here. As we kind of make our way around, the walls will start coming down. There's some enemies who've spawned up here who we're going to get rid of, and as we make our way to the top here, you'll see that enemies have started spawning in down there. So we're going to let them do that because they can't actually get up to the top here. I don't have the health to be dealing with all that. And meanwhile, speaking of things sneaking up on us, here is a small army of imps that have appeared from in front of the red door, and they are here to check me out. So it's quite devious, this little trap here, because if you're focusing all your attention on the bony boys and everything that's teleporting in the disaster area, you probably won't even notice that these imps are kind of making their way towards you until it's too late. So it's kind of trying to invite a mass kind of brawl on the player, and I like that. I do actually think that's quite clever. And you can see again we've got more arachnotrons here who are kind of blocking the way. That's the red door we saw earlier on. We can't actually get that blue key with the arachnotron until we get the red key, which is down here, unfortunately. So here comes one of the least exciting ways to have your Doom battles, which is shooting blindly down the staircase and kind of hoping you're hitting the enemies that you want to hit. So we've got the invulnerability here, kind of pointless at this point, but there are some enemies who are going to teleport in once we've grabbed the red key there. Just want to make sure we get rid of these guys. To be fair, like, this is a very interesting looking room, and it does kind of stand out in this level because it kind of goes against all the other design cues in this level, so I appreciate that. And in order for us to get into the arachnotrons though, we've kind of got to head inside here. I should have triggered them, it has. Nice. So we grab the blue key here and the ammo, and then we head through to what is the blue door. Again, not indicated, because why would it indicate that to us? So take note of this room as well. This room is looking fairly normal, fairly bland. We'll be coming back here in a bit and it'll look a lot different, let's put it that way. So as we make our way towards the yellow key here, we have to kind of go around this little labyrinth area. So these corridors have a bunch of enemies inside. You can look through the windows and see outside, but you can't really hit anything at this moment. So there's a bunch of hit scanners who are here to try and ruin our day, so we're just going to ruin their day for them. Take you out. And there should be one more outer ring of enemies. So I think in this one that we can actually start hitting enemies outside if they're stupid enough to walk in front of the windows. I don't know how I feel about this section. I feel like, again, this is probably the most basic implementation of this idea. And I feel like there's probably better ways this could have been done, but at the same time, it's functionally fine because it gets the job done, even if it does it without any flair. The tease of what's outside though is pretty nice. The yellow key has a bit of a trap to it because there's enemies inside who are just waiting to shoot us. As you can see, that wall has dropped down there. So you can see that the enemies outside actually have a good line of sight on us, so we have to kind of make sure we don't mess that up too much. It makes sense for us to thin the herd outside. So the gimmick of this level is that lost souls are going to start spawning in to the level from the namesake Mount Pain, and eventually they're going to become a massive hazard, especially if we end up with little amount of health. So as you can see, the lost souls have started to show up, so it's kind of in our interest to A, clear them out, and B, not hang around too much. But at the same time, I don't want to have all those enemies outside. The problem here is that ThatNukemGuy doesn't like sort of shooting down beneath this gap. For some reason, it does not like shooting beneath this gap. So we kind of have to get level with the enemies and shoot them through the hole. Just thinning out the herd outside. Like I said, we could go and take them on head on, but the thing is, once we step outside, we're going to start losing health pretty rapidly, in my opinion. That's usually how it goes with me. So this is the room I told you to take note of earlier. So you can see it's changed to a more hellish aesthetic in here. The floor does hurt, so be careful for that. The Cacodemons demons aren't too much of a problem here. It's nice to see the level kind of adapting and changing. It's always an interesting sort of implementation of sort of changing levels, because Doom doesn't really do that. It's not Duke Nukem in the sense that some Duke Nukem levels can change quite drastically, whereas in Doom you don't really get that too often. So it's nice to kind of see that idea get some implementation here. So there's a few enemies kind of hanging out there. Let's get rid of as many of these as we can. There's an imp there. So you can see there are enemies on this walkway outside here. But if you look to the right there, on the outside, on the left now, outside, you can see there's a whole area there which is going to be filled with all kinds of lost souls soon. So we don't really want to wait too long to get rid of those. My plan here is to just thin out these enemies as quickly as we can. The bony boys are probably the most annoying part here because their rockets can follow you down these long corridors. Cool, I think we've got rid of the rockets there. So you can see there's quite a few lost souls now floating around. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back and grab the rad suit we left at the back. There's Mount Pain. We will be going having a good look at that before I leave the level, because I think with levels like this, it's important to kind of go out of our way to admire the scenery, because obviously this level is noted for that scenery, so we may as well kind of have a nosy through it and see what we can pull out from it. So as we head inside here, there's an Archvile over there, there's some bony boys, there's a Mancubus on top. I don't want him to die, please. Okay, so you follow me around. That's not good for me. I'm going to save here, because if I die this close to the end of the level, I will actually scream. But you can see the Lost Souls are not afraid to kind of dive in here. Unfortunately, we have a bunch of slow moving lifts here to while away the time, so we can sort of admire this room. Remember, there is an Archvile up here, so we do have to kind of be a bit careful, not super careful. There's also that chain gunner up there who was just kind of there to mess with us. Okay, excellent. So if I remember rightly, I think the exit's actually in the middle. I think it's easier to go from the other side though, so I just want to kind of show you how annoying the lifts in this part of the level are though. So you can see that lift is moving incredibly slowly, and if you end up down here, you end up in the lava here, which will hurt you, which is not good for your long-term health. Don't recommend it. But as we slowly make our way up here, the exit's just in front of us, well, still slightly to the right there, and oh my god. So you can soft lock yourself into this area here by hitting the switch there and then coming inside. So that's kind of fun. So as you can see the exit's actually down there in the middle where that Lost Soul is. So I'm going to save here just in case I mess this up. Yeah, so you kind of got to run onto it, or you can run from the other side if you want to. But yeah, run onto that, that's the end of the level. But what we're going to do here, I'm actually going to do no clip here, because I actually want to kind of go exploring into the parts of the level we're not supposed to see. So if we head outside here, you can see we are actually in the scenery part, and you can tell because they haven't textured the wall there. The fact that there's a Mancubus out here wandering around is pretty funny to me. So you can see out here, they've got a bunch of these buildings. These are mostly here, I reckon, just to add sort of layers. So when you're looking out of the windows, you can kind of see, you know, you're not just seeing a flat space, but you're actually seeing like structures in the distance. Makes it look a lot more interesting because there's not much really going on here. This is an interesting bit of detail. But yeah, you can definitely tell that this is here mainly as window dressing. It's mainly just to kind of make the level feel a lot bigger than it actually is. I mean, it's a big level, don't get me wrong, but when you look out at this area and you're like, holy heck, look how big it is. So speaking of big, let's quickly go and have a glance at Mount Pain itself. So as you can see, the Lost Souls here are kind of teleporting around. They'll kind of do that permanently because that's just how they are. And you can see that like the mountain is huge. It just kind of sits in the corner of the map here, and you can see like they're all making their way over to us because they're not happy that we're here. Interestingly, that it is not the corner part of the map though. There is actually a bit behind it. And as we kind of make our way over here, you can see yet more window dressing, more structures. You know, these are kind of here to add a bit of flavour to the landscape. But yeah, I'm always intrigued when Doom levels have like massive set boxes like that, which are just kind of there to add window dressing and kind of dress up the level, because it's always interesting to kind of have a nosy around in areas where you're not really supposed to be. So let's head into the exit here. And you can see we get teleported over here, and as we try to run off the top of this cliff, that's Mount Pain. So what do I think of Mount Pain? It's an ambitious level. I think that some things it gets right. I love the fact that it tries to have so many monsters chasing you through the level. I think that's very fun. And I think that, like, because we're getting towards the end of TNT, you kind of need levels like this. You need big, grand levels that take you on these sweeping journeys through different kind of areas. And sure, there's some parts of it that don't work, but I appreciate the fact that there's a variety of set pieces. There's a lot of ideas, so there's some monsters who are up high and you have to shoot at them. There's some enemies who will follow you through the level. There's some enemies who teleport in, and then at the end you've got all those lost souls who just kind of add to the chaos at the end of the level. I think the sewers are terrible, but you know, I'm always going to say that about sewers in Doom. Let me know what you think of Mount Pain though. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Thank you very much for watching.